And you brought up, the world of social media a couple times so far, and I think now more than ever, social media is something that can be, a very positive thing and then also a very negative thing in the terms of you can go out there and promote yourself, but also you can see those negative comments. And if people, hate on you or, post on your videos that you're not a good fighter, things like that. In today's day and age, how should fighters be using social media um, for more of a positive aspect?
Uh, it could go in a couple different directions, but one of the ways that I do it is one, it's hard because people take it personally, but I don't do the obligatory follow me, I follow you. I just don't do it, because then your social media gets away from you and it's no longer a tool. Like it's if I tell you you're awesome and you tell me you're awesome every day, then being awesome means nothing. Like it's not legit. It doesn't do anything, right? So it like a trade for trade, that's the polite thing to do. But I use I not foolproof, but I look at my social media as a tool. Like I want it to lift me up. I want it like, John, I really like you, right? But if you're into whatever and I'm not into it, I like you a lot, but your content of dogs is not going to inspire me, right? I do actually like dogs. That was a bad example. But, if you're focused on something else in life, or you live at the beach and I hate the beach, like I'm not really going to be inspired by beach pictures. Again, I love the beach. But so I use it as like I follow people who are going to inspire me, period. In terms of the hate or commenting, the reason you're asking me these questions is because I have some experience that I can share with people who don't have experience. Well, there's levels of experience above me. So I call on those people. I look at those people and see what they do. And it's across the board. The most successful people, some of them read the comments and get really irritated at the comments. Some of them don't pay attention to the comments at all. I'm still at the phase of my life where I feel bad if I don't respond to every comment, right? Or at least acknowledge, hey, I saw it. Like give a like. It's not sustainable. My kids are getting older. My kids are joining things. My kids are doing things. I want to do more with them. So it's just not sustainable. So eventually I'll get to a point where people will say, he's a jerk. He doesn't respond anymore. But the truth is I just won't be able to. So I think it's a gradual phase, looking at it as a tool for good, being aware of the facelessness of the comments is super important. There's been several instances where, I've gotten annoyed and I've called people out and then they cower and they say, oh no, bro, I'm just kidding. You're awesome. I really appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. It's like, why? That one person can represent a lot of people. So that archetype, just being aware that, hey, that archetype exists is very helpful as well.
And then in terms of, the responses to those negative comments or comments at all, you see a lot, especially in the regional MMA scene, where everybody kind of knows everybody. Like I know, most of the fighters at the weight classes that I fought at in the general area, and people call a lot of people out just like in a comment, or they'll, post something calling somebody out, or they want to fight this person or that person. What how would you walk that fine line of putting yourself out there and saying, I want to fight this person, but not just getting into a Facebook, comment fight?
Yeah, that's a rule. I
Mhm.
think that I would say is an absolute rule is never will I get into an argument on Facebook. Because I don't say many things are the dumbest thing ever, but it's one of the most like sad things ever to see those threads that go and go and go and go and go. Here's what I would do if you called me out, and trust me, I've gotten called out. I've gotten called, a wimp. I've gotten called like I'm afraid to fight this guy. I've got everything, and it stings because fighting is an ego-driven sport. Like I believe I can kick your butt. But the what I would do now is, one, I would think to myself, I don't have the time for that, and then I would just forget about it.
Mm.
Back then, like when I was working my way up, what I would tell me now to have done then is, John, you would call me out, and then I would see it, and then I would go to my manager and I would say, hey, can you contact that guy's manager or contact that guy and set up the fight? And then I wouldn't even, it would happen, right? And then voila, it happens without wasting all that energy going back and forth. And then if that person really wants to fight you, then you'll end up fighting, and that's that. But the back and forth, it's so like, I don't want to say childish, but it's embarrassing. It's like if we're adults, right, and we're trying to teach young people how to like act, it's not the way to do it. Um, so I would either say no response, right, and take care of business behind the scenes, or kill them with kindness. Like killing with kindness is like it's like the most disarming thing ever. Uh, John, you hate on me, and then you just kill him with kindness and be like, it sounds cheesy and corny because it is cheesy and corny, but it disarms. Like if you attack me with viciousness, and then I say, hey man, yeah, I'll talk to my manager and see if we can hook it up. You're doing really well. Hopefully you see you in the cage. And it's like, what do they do? They just keep attacking you. And then it just spoils the situation that they're looking for. But it's an unwinnable battle to think, I'm going to say this and they're going to stop talking. It's not a thing that's possible.
I like that. Okay. So switching gears a little bit, we talked last time about finding the right manager and kind of working with your family. And then when you think you get to the point you have to hire someone and you're working with them on that side of things. One question that came up was, as you start coming up and as you start making some more considerable money in the sport, what are some ways to reinvest that money not only into yourself, but into things that you want to do post-fighting so that you're not almost starting from square one when your fight career does come to an end?
Yeah, so this is a great question and something that maybe I take for granted that I did or do or whatever. But for me, I don't know if it was just inborn or I was just taught it growing up, or I don't know. But when I started fighting, I understood that, first of all, taxes, nobody ever really teaches you taxes. You just all have to sign a thing one day and you're like, what is this? For me anyway. But so as a fighter, you're an independent contractor, meaning you have to basically make the money and then say, hey, I made this money, and then pay the taxes on it, right? A lot of people just don't do that. And I'm sure a lot of people get away with it. I mean, you hear people get, like, the odds of getting audited are not very high odds, right? Still high. You need to do, you have to follow the law, right?
Yeah.
So what I would do, what I still do today, because my business is not one that I get a paycheck every day and taxes are taken out. But I started doing this, and then I think I probably read a couple books that furthered me doing this even more. But anything I get paid, I take a percentage off the top. I put to taxes, like I have to pay taxes on this, and then I take that equal percentage and put it towards savings. So if I get paid $1,000 for a fight, I'm taking at least 10%, depending on where I'm at in my financial life, at least 10%, putting it into, I'm going to have to pay the government here in, a couple months, $100 there. And then $100, this is my savings account off the top. And depending on where I'm at in my financial life, my taxable income, it could be anywhere from 30 to 30, right? So $1,000, I'm putting 300 here, 300 there. I'm left with $400. And that's it. So one of the books I read that I'd recommend reading is Richest Man in Babylon. And in that book, one of the rules is pay yourself first before anything, right? So technically I'm kind of paying the government first, right? But whether you want to look at it, without a doubt, I can make $100, I can make $10,000. At least 10% is going here, at least 10% is going there. The vast majority of the time it's more. So that's a rule that I would say from the get-go, do. And Eddie Alvarez is really smart. He's someone that I would recommend at different periods in time. I've seen him post about it, specifics about fighter finances, and he's, made a boatload of money in his life. So I would look to him, also follow him on social media, or, for some tips to it. That's a huge thing right off the top. You get your check, don't do anything except first X% to taxes that you have to pay, X% to your savings. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest piece of advice I'd give. And again, I'm not a financial guy, but that's what I do. How about that? That's what I do. And that's what's worked for me.